All right, she's back there. So my talk's called Gratitude, the Portal to Worthiness. So I'm going to be talking about gratitude as it relates to our really connecting up to an authentic experience that we matter, that we're here to make a difference. And we can't make that difference until we really wholly accept ourselves. And really understand that we're gifted with the capacity to be unto our own life the one. And so as we acknowledge together that our effort is not of this world in the sense of trying to necessarily conform to a standard of living or success, but rather to really be on a journey of really knowing our worth so that we can translate that worth into really a life that is making a difference in our world. And our world needs us to be able to have this capacity to be in our world and be able to make a difference. So as we explore the theme of gratitude and thanksgiving, as we recognize that we are so blessed, and indeed each Sunday in our meditation practice, we practice connecting up with that part of ourself that is grateful. And we allow those feelings of gratitude and appreciation to rise up within us so that we create this resonant field, a field of heart-centered coherence, and within which we can allow this field to soothe us, to nurture us, to sustain us. And so our journey through really awakening to the part of ourself that is here to make a difference lives in the context, excuse me, there we go, lives in the context of recognizing the importance of really owning the truth of us, owning our worthiness. So Brene Brown says, the most dangerous stories we make up are the narratives that diminish our inherent worthiness. So I'm wanting to presence the fact that we ourselves kind of diminish our own capacity to really know and function from the dimension of ourself that is here to make a difference. We must reclaim the truth about our lovability, our divinity, and creativity. So we have to claim that. That's not something that the world is going to say, you're worthy, you can have it all. No, we have to know that. We have to know that we're worthy. And that worthiness arises, this is sort of the theme that I'm wanting us to focus on, arises out of the context of our capacity to be grateful, of our capacity to appreciate. And just think about that for a moment. When you're grateful for something that you're having in your life, most of us automatically feel grateful when we're gifted with something that causes us to feel appreciative or blessed. And when we have this feeling of being appreciated or valued or blessed, we sometimes source that out there in the world. We have a situation that gives us a feeling of being blessed or grateful. But what we don't do is we don't connect that experience to a deeper realization, that is that feeling is an experience is meant to have us recognize who we are, that we're worthy, that we're worth it, we deserve it. It's ours if we open ourselves to it. And so what is it that we're maybe not able to receive into our life that our sense of unworthiness is the problem, as opposed to something in life is being withheld? What if the only withholding that happens comes from our lack of being able to know the truth about ourselves? And so as we be in this struggle to really see that in the awareness that all of life is for us, can we not see how there's still a part of us that is not able to believe that or not able to receive that? And so that's sort of the effort that we have to bring, especially as we're reminded that gratitude is such an integral part of our spiritual journey. Indeed, gratitude, as I'll land on, is a spiritual practice. That until we practice being grateful and appreciative of whatever is happening or whatever we're having or however we are being, until we're in a sense of recontextualizing our experience in the awareness, no, this is for me. then we're not able to be present to what we're having out of the context in which it is arriving into our lives. But instead, if we push it away thinking that this is something I don't want, we're likely shutting down the field of infinite possibilities, which is the arena within which God operates. Another aspect of this comes from Melanie Beatty. She says, gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. I mean, just think about that. Just think about that. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, confusion into clarity. It turns problems into gifts, failures into success, and the unexpected into perfect timing of events. I mean, think about that. When we are in a state of gratitude, and the situations or the dynamics of our life can be however they are, but having gratitude in the presence of what could be chaotic allows us to open the field of infinite possibilities so that whatever is necessary and good becomes evident and expressible. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. So this arena of how gratitude can offer us options that expose our capacity to be the one to make a difference in our life, we need to mind that capacity. We need to develop that. We need to activate that. So I'm wanting to tell a story that is connected to a story that Jane began to share last time she spoke. She did a talk of introducing gratitude, and she introduced the talk by asking us all, have you ever had a dream where you woke up from the dream and you felt such a relief that you were having a dream and it wasn't real? Yeah. And so all of us can relate to something like that. And she mentioned about a dream that I had, a recurring dream that I would have regarding my previous wife, Nan. And so I'm going to tell a story that describes not only that dream, that situation that Jane was pointing to, but I'm going to give you a bigger sense of why that story is so integral to my own process of recognizing how gratitude is the portal to worthiness. And so, so let me just kind of back the story up a little bit. Nan died 17 years ago of brain cancer, glioblastoma multiforme, which is the same cancer that John McCain died of. And at the time, 17 years ago, it was considered very deadly as it is in these times. And in the course of our hearing the diagnosis, her teenage son Googled it and discovered, while the doctor would not tell us that she was terminal, I had to learn from my stepson that 3% of people survive 18 months. Everybody else dies before then. So this is a very aggressive cancer. And so as a family, we're dealing with her process, you know, it was something that she was in this disease process. Story, Nan and I were married for 10 years, and she was very psychic. And in the course of my struggle to accept her passing, she would comfort me by trying to say, oh, don't worry about it, you're going to be remarried in 6 months. So let me finish the story here. So I didn't want to hear that, you know, it's like that's the last thing that I was wanting to hear. Somebody wanted to console me by saying, don't worry, I'll be in a different relationship and I'll not have any more grief about it. So the reality is that she made that prediction, and I didn't know at the time that Jane would be the person that I would marry 6 months later. Wow. So Nan made her passing, and I was in the process of my own grief work. And I'm wanting to share a couple of things about this. So when Nan passed away, she died in our living room. She spent weeks of her life in hospice in our home. And, and, and after she passed, in the very room, I was there at her last breath, in the moment that she passed. And weeks later, I set up a table, a kind of altar, right there where she passed, in the living room. And I placed on the table all of the mementos that I could find in our house that reflected some aspect of our lives together, or something that represented a dimension of our journey, our commitment, our love for each other. And there were dozens of things. The table was full. And it was my practice every day at the same time, before I began my day, to spend time at this table, to observe all the things that reminded me of my loss, of my sadness, of my love. And to read the Daily Word, and to read the Science of Mind and other readings that helped me kind of lift my spirits, and then to look at all the representations, all the mementos, all the little things, and to feel such gratitude for having shared this journey. And then to be able to, at the end of that moment, to look at all of those things and invite some object or some symbol to reveal itself, so that I could look at it and be in the question, am I ready to let this go now? And so I would set this aside, put it away, or throw it away, or give it away. It was away. And over the course of 90 days, one at a time, each of those objects left that table until the table was empty. And at that moment, I realized that I had absolutely released all of the outer ways in which I was connected to this person's life and essence. And I was able to let Nan go, and I was able to hold within myself the essence, her essence, in the sense of gratitude. I arrived at a depth of gratitude for having shared this experience, and have been able to, having released her and myself to whatever was next, and then recognizing that as I was releasing those objects, I was rather gathering the infinite and eternal presence that she is. So I'm going to tell you another story about what happened just prior to her death, but for now I'm wanting to now take this story into the actual conversation that Jane had with you. So while I had released her, and then after Jane and I got together and married, I started having dreams. I would have recurring dreams of be interacting with Nan. While I was in the dream, I was knowing that she was dead, and yet I was also married to Jane, and feeling like, what if they found out? What if? and I was so anxious and concerned, and every day I'd wake up, and whenever I'd wake up, I was so relieved. And that's why Jane was wanting to share that story. But the dream never ended. The dream recurred over and over and over again. And so it was clear to me that while on the outer level I released her, but on the inside, in the internal dimension of myself, I was still holding on. There's still something there that I couldn't release. And I found myself sort of in this sense of feeling guilty for feeling so blessed to have Jane in my life. And watch the story in my head say that, well, Nan had to die in order for me to get Jane in my life. I know, and so don't you find your brain works that way sometimes too? Really messing with your head? So after a while, I had shared this experience with a friend who is a therapist. And he explained to me, you're having lucid dreamings when you're describing, you're aware that you're married to Jane and Nan's still around. So he said, look, next time you have this dream, I suggest that you spend time intentionally thanking Nan for all the ways in which she has blessed your life. And then after you're done, I want you to tell her you're dead. You're dead. And so I said, okay, so, all right. So I went, I took that advice, and the next time it happened, I remembered in that dream. I thanked her for all the ways in which she was a gift and a blessing in my life, and it was very easy for me to do that. And then after I was finished, and I said, but Nan, you're dead. You passed away. And now this is my life. And in that moment, I saw her image just kind of collapse into blackness, and it just, and she vanished in the midst of this kind of dust. And I woke up, and I felt free and released. And the reason why I share this experience is because there is a necessity for us to reconcile the events of our life in the context of what if it's always for us, and to recognize that we are constantly being brought into relationship with dynamics in our life that require of us to choose our worth, to choose whether or not we are willing to own the part of ourself that is here to be unto our life the one, whether or not that one that we're to be in our life is to be the one to convey a kindness or a gratitude or to offer support or help. It doesn't matter what the situation is, but we're called to connect up the conditions of our life with our capacity to feel our worth. And if we're not intentionally aware that that's what's going on in our life, we are not allowing life to pull us into our greatness, our magnificence, who and what we've come here to be. So I'm noticing there are different dimensions of gratitude that either cause us to kind of be more focused on how our life looks and feels, or cause us to be more in awe of what our capacity and what this dimension is that is within, that is our higher self, the presence of spirit. And so let's just go through a couple of understandings about our experience of gratitude. Most of us can relate to the gratitude that comes when we're relieved of some worry or some fear. And all of us can see that when we're free of having some inevitability kind of overcome us, but now it's not going to happen, we feel relieved and therefore grateful. But that's kind of gratitude's attached to how our life looks and feels and treats us. And while there's value in that kind of acknowledgement that I have been blessed, I have received a good, and therefore it is natural for me to appreciate and even be called into a generosity or an expression of giving back or making a difference, unless I connect that intentionality to the reality that the reason why this is possible is because of who I am and the worthiness that is the foundation of my essence. So we can see that while gratitude most vividly comes into our experience or awareness when we have an event or situation that treats us in a way that causes us to look outside and say, welcome, it's welcome. But it's harder to connect that kind of experience to our own sense that this is really about our own sense of worthiness. And until we learn how to do that, we will not necessarily be using those moments that have been blessings unto us in a way that it can amplify that, in a way that can really make that experience of being gifted a demonstration or evidence that we are worthy. What if the situations that happen to you that are blessings are God's way of saying, you are worthy. You are worthy. And if we could be able to take it in and let it land on us there, to know that we are worthy to receive, then we're better able to align with what's happening in our life. Then there's also the capacity to feel gratitude when we come from a place of knowing that we can make a difference in people's lives. You know, on one hand, we have gratitude when life happens to us, that feels good. But when life happens by us, when we intentionally seek to make a difference, we can be grateful for what we can accomplish with our effort, with our time, talent, or treasure. So we can make a difference through being able to give as source. We can make a difference by supporting something that makes a difference or matters to us. The idea here is that this type of gratitude and be grateful for the sounds of innocence and naivety. So when we make the kind of gratitude, when we understand the gratitude that arises out of our effort to make a difference in the world, that is a kind of gratitude that begins to draw us closer to the reason why. And that is because we are the one unto our life. And until we own that role, until we accept and care and love and value ourselves in the context of what is seeking to be birthed through us, we will still kind of push away or limit ourselves in no uncertain terms. Then there's the final dimension of how gratitude, or not the final, but another, let us say, another dimension that it comes closer to our seeing gratitude and worthiness as being interconnected, is when we don't necessarily have a situation out there that invokes gratitude, and we're not being relieved of any burden or worry or fear, but rather we embody the presence and bring gratitude to whatever is the moment. So the reason why this is so vivid and integral to my experience and my spiritual practice is what I witnessed 3 months before Nan passed. You know, when she was diagnosed with brain cancer, it was right after my first book was published, The Eye of the Storm. It was published in 2001, and its basic premise is that nothing and no one is against you. So when the book came out, she read it, and she looked at it, and she threw the book at me. She said, "This is a bunch of crap." And she says, "How can you say nothing and no one is against me when my cancer is killing me?" And you know, you can't argue with the facts of life. But it didn't deter her from reconciling the reality that she could be in the experience of having a dying body, but not be diminished by that. To be able to recognize that that was not the truth of her, that was not her identity. This was an experience she was having. But how could she use this experience that she was having to unfold the truth and dimension of what she was to bring to this planet? And so I witnessed in this person the ability to be gratitude and presence. For 3 months before she died, all of a sudden we started having visitors come to the house. They wouldn't visit Nan because she was dying. They would visit to be in her presence. She had such a gratitude for just being present in every single moment. Every time someone would come, she would radiate this welcoming, this sense that, thank you so much. And as I saw that was something that she became, this embodiment of gratitude and the effect that it would have on people, the effect that it had on her ex-husband, the effect that it had on her son and her daughter, and the effect that it had on my congregation, because I was living in a town where I'd served a ministry before. And so the idea of gratitude and how it becomes a portal to our own sense of worthiness really lives in the recognition that we are here not by accident, but by divine appointment. And if we are to recognize that this is why we're here, is to make a difference, to be the one, then we really need to be able to utilize our capacity to actually manifest that dimension of us. So if we understand that gratitude literally can change what we're having, either to be for us or not, and when we recognize that when we bring to our life experience the sense that whatever is happening is a connecting link to a greater experience of my capacity to be unto my life the one, then there is no experience that we cannot use, bless you, to bring forth or to cause to be brought forth a greater sense of what is possible, what our capacity is. So while we talk about gratitude, while I've been talking about gratitude as a state of being, as a way of welcoming, Dr. Joe Dispenza says gratitude is the highest demonstration of receivership. The highest way in which we can say that we're welcoming the moment is when we're living in gratitude. And indeed, the capacity to be presence in our life requires of us to be present to our life. And the only way in which we energetically are present to what we're having in life is when we are grateful. Any other state has some element of we'll wait and see. And you see, God doesn't work that way. Spirit doesn't work that way, wait and see. No, it's something that we have to embody and habit, and we have to feel. We have to teach our body how to feel gratitude. Not because of what's happening out there, but because if that's the avenue through which we open the portal to receive what is necessary and good in our life. So appreciation has been identified as the highest vibration that invokes our capacity to connect our heart and our mind to the infinite field of possibilities. And so when we recognize that generating the felt state of heart-centered coherence, which appreciation is the pathway towards, and we make this a practice, then we are conditioning our neural architecture and our way of being to respond to life out of the context of our interconnection, our interdependence, our oneness, our capacity to make a difference. And finally, let's look at some ways in which we can kind of take these ideas and really make them more solid in our life. So one way is to begin a 21-day gratitude journaling process and then begin to pay attention to the ahas and insights that are discovered as we do that. So when you start appreciating, what happens? When something appreciates, you get more of it, right? And so when you appreciate something, you expand your capacity to allow that to be what is bringing forth into your awareness a greater sense of who and what you are. Make a list of all the ways in which you're making a difference in your world. What are you grateful for with respect to what you are able to make happen or manifest? And this is integral too, because this is what we should be doing. When we think about what we're going to be doing today, when you wake up in the morning, what are you going to do today? Well, our doing is about making a difference. Our doing is about bringing forth a greater good. Our doing is about unleashing the capacity to affirm and to value, to appreciate. And because that is contagious. And that is what spreads very quickly. What does it mean to teach your body what it feels like? To be empowered, or to be unlimited, to be free, or to be grateful. And until we recognize that the felt states, like Kathy mentioned how she immersed herself in the felt state of gratitude for already experiencing the sale, the cash sale. And that simple technique of feeling first, feeling grateful first, and then wondering what's going to fill in the evidence for why that gratitude is valid. In other words, what if we could generate the felt state and then not have to look outside for evidence of what we're appreciating? We're just living in the feeling of appreciation, training our body and mind to welcome the moment, recognizing that it's always for us. And if there's a part of me that has a problem with it, well, then that's the part of me that I haven't loved yet. That's the part of me that is outside of my sense of worthiness. And so we can use everything that we're having to bring us into this dominion of ourself, this capacity to decide how we're going to be with what we're having in our life. And so The final idea is how does gratitude help you take charge of your life? And by charge, I don't mean control. By charge, I mean knowing that this is you. This is something that is for us. This is something that is really unfolding our capacity to make a difference in the world. So, I'm really, really pleased that Jane is with her kids and that I'm able to support her by holding down the fort so that she can be with her family over Thanksgiving. Because I can be with my family over Thanksgiving. God bless you.